So this is a really juicy live that I really think is going to be worth it to watch all the way through. It might get a little bit longer, so if you want to bookmark it for a cozy moment with a cup of coffee or tea or something, then that might be something you want to do. What I'm going to do in this live is something that I've been wanting to do for a couple weeks now, and I'm finally finding the right moment for it. The idea came to me actually on the plane. I think it was going to Madrid. In any case, I want to give you my very detailed, kind of step-by-step, foolproof approach to actually living life. Like if you zoom out enough, it's so applicable to your everyday living of your life. But really what it is, it's my step-by-step approach to what to do when you are triggered or you are anxious and about the future and want to use that trigger or that anxiety in a constructive and a productive way to both to either heal a wound or actively manifest your future, right? Something that's desired for you. So something else before I get too into it, I also wanted to say this, which is that I don't normally do these kinds of videos because here's the thing. Normally when you are a life coach, what happens is that you specialize in a topic in an area, and then you become kind of like this expert, and maybe, because you are, and you want to share your wisdom with the world. And so you make lots of videos, like free content and stuff, to tell people what to do in certain situations, when it's related to that topic that you know a lot about. That's really applicable for traditional coaching, where that's what the coach does. They are the expert, the authority on a topic, and they are going to guide you in a transformation process based on that knowing that they have. Because soul-based coaching is so different from that approach, I've been reluctant, let's say, to do this kind of video where it's me telling you essentially what to do, right? And because in soul-based coaching, none of that happens at all. And that's what makes it so unique. You might have heard me talk about this. Soul-based coaching is 100% advice-free. It's 100% connecting you with your own inner knowing, your own inner wisdom, completely unpolluted and uninfluenced by external anything. So including my own stuff, my own ideas, and that's what makes it really powerful and really great, especially for people who are struggling with things like self-trust and connecting with what's true for them, what they need, their own boundaries, these kinds of things. So anyway, but I thought people don't only want to hear me talk about soul-based coaching and how amazing it is. Maybe they would like to hear some tidbits, some nuggets of and just get, maybe you're curious about how I do things. Something else. Oh yeah, and also because I notice that sometimes, I get online and I will read something like an article or a video and it'll offer some little tidbit that I end up using myself. So there's nothing wrong, of course, with imparting wisdom and learning from each other. So all of these things coming together now has made me more ready to offer this kind of instructional video. All right, so what to do when you are triggered. We are emotional beings and we get triggered all the time. And the more inner work you do, or especially if you're a sensitive person and you're already attuned to your inner world, you'll notice that you can get triggered many times throughout the day. And because we're not really taught what to do with that, in fact, we're taught often to ignore it or to bypass it, to devalidate ourselves, what we end up doing is we just seek to distract ourselves, numb, rush towards a better feeling state, ignore it, right? And that's it's one way to live life. It often means that what's going to happen is that those triggers are just going to keep happening, because what's unhealed can't not seek our attention to be healed. Let me slow down so I don't lose, because my mind can go a lot faster than my talking. Right, so it is a very helpful skill to learn, like, okay, what can trigger these triggers, these emotional states that we move through all the time, can be used for in a very constructive way. I think another topic I wanted to talk about was how anything in our life can be aggravating or healing. Anything that happens to us, and which it ends up being depends on you and having the skill or not. So let me go into it now. So what's the first thing? So let's say something happens, and I can give you an example. This happened to me recently. It was very, very triggering. And here's the thing about triggers. They will seem irrational, yes? A part of your brain will want to devalidate it and say, well, why am I so upset about this? It's not such a big deal. And from a rational, logical perspective, it probably isn't. And the interpretation that your mind is making out of it probably isn't accurate. Maybe you're projecting what that person did to you, what it means, what they're thinking. We project all the time. And that doesn't mean that we should just ignore it, because when something is very triggering, maybe the interpretation isn't accurate, but the emotion is definitely valid, and needs attention, needs presence. It's like an alarm bell going off that we don't want to ignore. So in my case, this was like a week ago. We got an email from the caravan people that there were a couple things broken, so they weren't going to give us all of our money back. But what really triggered me was, it's super vulnerable to share, but here we go. And that's the thing, like, even though it's going to seem silly, but because it's connected to a deeper part of me, it's not easy to share. But basically they were saying it wasn't clean enough. And it triggered something so deep in me that had nothing to do with being, yes, it had to do with, like, shame. I grew up in a very, very, very clean household. And I made a big effort to clean the caravan really well. Like, I spent hours cleaning it. We dedicated basically an entire half a day to that project. And I took a lot of pride in leaving it really clean. I mean, I cleaned areas of the inside of that caravan that, they haven't been cleaned in years. I was like, hey, cool, I'm leaving even cleaner than they gave it to us. Apparently they didn't think so. I still don't know if, again, sometimes the universe will trigger us. We'll use anything as an excuse to trigger what needs to be triggered, what needs to be seen. So it's very possible that, these people found it anyway. It doesn't matter. But so this is what I do. The first step, and this is super important, is to feel. We hear it all the time. You have to feel to heal. So for me, it felt like a stab in the gut, and I'm very, it's introspective, I think is the word. So when you're attuned to your inner body, like the inside of your body and the sensations in there, like, I'm very attuned. So I immediately felt it. I was like, oh, okay, there's something happening here. I finished reading the email, and I was like, okay, this has been a big trigger. I can already tell I'm going to dive into the process. So what I did is I kind of separated myself from my desk, and I got sunk into my desk chair, and I let myself feel. It's almost like let those waves of whatever you're feeling move through you fully. So, and the thing is, we tend to do the opposite when we're triggered. The gut, the instinctual thing is to tighten against it, to like, oh, that doesn't feel good, let me rush to whatever your coping mechanism is. It could be food, scrolling, work, whatever. But so just keep in mind that that's what you're probably your instinct is going to be, unless you're really, you've been doing this a long time. So first, you got to let yourself feel the pain. It could be pain, it could be anger. For me, it was definitely a mix of two. I was switching back and forth between deep pain and kind of like a small child that's been reprimanded and scolded, and the shame and the embarrassment and all those feelings. And good for me, this is actually a sign of all the healing work I've done over the years. Lots of anger. Years ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to connect with that anger. So anger is vibrationally higher up the scale than that really uncomfortable sadness, or like shame. And it's not so much, it's shame, and for me it was shame, and just like again, like a small child that's been yelled at, and very unpleasant feeling. So let yourself just feel it, and it's probably going to come in waves, because as your mind remembers the trigger, it kind of replays it, it's going to trigger that wave of that emotion again. And yeah, that's it. It doesn't have to take forever. What we also don't want to do is, where some people can get stuck is, and this happens also if we try to ignore it and go off and do something else, is that because we haven't addressed it, the mind will just keep replaying it and re-triggering it, and then we need even more. So then we're in this like resistance cycle where we're trying to escape that feeling that our mind keeps re-triggering. Okay, so you don't want to do that. You don't want to just stay there also just kind of like feeling that forever, but you do want to allow yourself to feel the full extent of it, is what I'm trying to say. Then step 2. So here I'm debating whether to do 2 parallel things, because there's a trigger, and then if there's something that's that has to do with anxiety about the future, because they're kind of 2 parallel processes here. I don't want to confuse you too much. Maybe I should save it for a different, but I kind of want to share it now. Okay, if what's happened is that you're feeling anxious about a future event, maybe it's also because of something that's just happened, like externally. In any case, then you also want to let yourself feel that anxiety first. So the same principle. All right. So step 2. If it's like an emotional wound that's been triggered, like in the case for me with this not being clean, then you want to ask yourself, I asked myself a couple of questions. What is the opposite experience here? Or what does this inner child need? And can I do anything right now to actively provide that experience? And it could be a small thing. It doesn't have to be the full expression of that, but even if it's just a step in that direction, your system is going to be very grateful for that. That inner child is going to be very grateful. And it could be about, it could just be an inner world thing that happens, like an inner dialogue that you have with that child, and then a message that you give it. For me, it was, yeah, maybe you didn't clean it perfectly, and that's okay, right? Like, and you kind of play, the way I do this is you just play with different affirmations or messages or statements, and just notice how they register. Some will hit home and feel really good, and others won't, and that's how you just kind of like nudge yourself towards the healing message, the one that allows that inner child or part of you has been waiting to hear all these years. If another question can be, what would I like to have happen? This is always applicable, this question. And what that does is it puts you in creator mode. So up until now, you've been in reactive mode. So something has happened, and it's caused a reaction in your system. And you can use that then, once you've done this first step, to go into creator mode. What would I like to have happen? And again, it can be anything, big or small, internal or external, like an action or just an inner state, a way of relating to yourself. So just pay attention to what that is. This one's especially important if what the trigger is anxiety about the future. So when this is what I'm afraid is going to happen, which is programming, yeah, it's because it probably has happened in the past, and so we assume it's going to happen again negatively in the future. When this is what I'm afraid is going to happen, what would I like to have happen? And this step is important to let your mind be super creative. Let your imagination do what it does best. Use your imagination actively, consciously in this case, to build up the most amazing scenario. And that's going to be also a nudging process. So you're going to be like, I would like it to go like this. And that's going to feel maybe a little bit edgy, because the thing is, this process won't necessarily feel good. It'll feel good, but it might also feel a little bit uncomfortable, because we're not used to allowing ourselves to imagine positive outcomes, because normally we have a very strong part of us whose only job it is to protect us from disappointment. So you're going to nudge yourself there, and you're going to give yourself permission to go there. So basically it's like, okay, this is what it's like when it goes the way I would like, and what would make it even better, and what would make it even better. And so you kind of keep tweaking it, adding things, subtracting things, until you have visualized an outcome related to that thing that is like, wow, that would be amazing. Even if your mind is telling you, well, that's probably not possible, or let the mind do that, but also let yourself go there. So that's step 2, right? Okay. Then step 3 is letting go. Yeah. This is where you, in order to manifest, you let go of the how and allow. So that's kind of a neat way to, if you want to kind of write that down somewhere, remember it. Often the best way to manifest is to let go of the how and allow. And that's where you kind of just relax, and it's actually helpful to literally relax your body in that state and kind of imagine all your muscles relaxing, your energetic body relaxing, so that the universe has an easier time lining up the things that allow that to happen. And so your subconscious also has an easier time lining up your inner parts in such a way that leads to that outcome. Yeah. So that's the third step. And if you're dealing with a wound, like in my case with the hurt child, yeah, there's not so much of a letting go that needs to happen there, because you're not necessarily wanting to manifest anything, but I think actually with those first 2 steps you're already pretty good to go. So this is more applicable for when you want to actively manifest something. It's this letting go. And a note here on reactivity versus responding. So this is exactly what will allow you to start to make a habit, or like start to embody the practice of responding instead of reacting. When you take the time to notice your trigger, notice you're anxious, first let yourself be that, feel that emotion fully. Also, like, again, like to reiterate, because it's important, like if it's pain or whatever, if it's anger, let yourself feel the full expression of that. Like dive down, like let yourself sink down into that dark pit or whatever it feels like, or feel the full rage. So it's just like you let yourself go to the really positive state, let yourself go to feel the fully negative state. And let's see, kind of lost my train there. I forgot what I was going to say next, but I think I've said what so responding versus reacting. When you've done this, then you can you can tap into what your response will be, and then you're not just reacting. Reacting is what happens when we're just acting on those impulses, that programming, that conditioning. Responding is it'll feel better. Reacting often doesn't feel good, and it often doesn't lead to good results. Responding will feel good and will lead to positive results. And that question, what would I like to have happen, maybe right now even, like, okay, this is what's happened, this is how it's triggered me, this is the outcome I want. With all of this, what would I like to have happen now? That's going to give you your response, which, keep in mind, might be to do nothing. Often the best response is a non-response, so to speak. And it's often the hardest thing, because the impulse to react can be very high, because we want to. It feels uncomfortable to sit back and not do anything when we're triggered. But so many things take care of themselves when we do allow inaction. This actually has a name. It's called Wu Wei. It's a Chinese spiritual practice, I think connected with Taoism, where it's like active inaction or something like that. It's where you let things take care of themselves, essentially. You let time do what it needs to do. And when you've done this manifestation process that I'm talking about, then it's almost like you've placed your order with the universe or with your subconscious, and you let it do its job. And the more you can kind of lean back and open yourself energetically, then the easier it'll be for that to happen. Another note on manifestation is that it's really good to let go of the timeline. And in soul-based coaching is many things, but it's also a manifestation tool. And it's great if you can bring, whether you're doing soul-based coaching or anything manifestation related, bring this conscious practice of letting go of the timeline. I've had people come to me with things that they thought would take 12 sessions to heal, and it was healed in the first session, or that would take a long time to manifest, and manifested very quickly in their life. And I've had people, including myself, right? Like, I've noticed this in my own life. It's like you want something, you're thinking about it, but then like life goes on, other things happen, you forget about it, maybe 2 years have gone by, and you're like, oh, wait a second, this thing I'm experiencing right now, these circumstances I have right now, is something I actively was desiring years ago, and here it is, and it's a lovely feeling. It's like, oh yeah, this manifestation stuff works. Right? So I'm experiencing that a lot right now, by the way, with all these wonderful changes in my life. So yeah, but maybe you do feel like doing something, because that can also be very healing, by the way. So depending on, normally it's going to be the opposite of what your reaction would have been. If your reaction, sometimes people freeze when they're triggered, or they don't express a boundary, they don't express their needs. So I know people that when they've done this process and they've tapped into the response that makes sense for them, that feels good, it's been to communicate. Often it's communications, like, let me tell this person this thing that needs to be said for me. But in any case, it will feel really good. It will feel like you've made progress, like it's an alignment for you. And isn't that a great feeling? Like, soul-based coaching, that's essentially what it does. If you want to also zoom out really wide, it accelerates positive evolution. Because I think at the end of the day, like, sure, we attach specific things, and we can go really into the story of, like, this is what I want to manifest next, this is important to me. But, and doing that, like, reaching those goals feels really good. But normally, I think humans just, at the end of the day, want to feel like they're empowered, like they're making progress, like positive things are happening for them. That's what we're after. It's like the journey is more important than the destination. And if you feel like you're walking then that feels good, right? What feels really bad is when we feel stuck, or like we're going in circles and keep stumbling over the same stones, like in our path, keep falling into the same negative patterns. That's what feels really bad. And soul-based coaching is designed to create healing, create positive change, to break patterns. It's a transformation tool. It connects you with yourself, with this capability that you have for positive evolution, growth, development. Yeah. Okay. I'm pretty sure I said everything that I wanted to say. Hello, Aubrey. It's lovely to have you watching. Thanks so much. I'm in a park in Helsinki, by the way, and it's just really cool to be here. And let me know. I would love to know if you've watched all of this. Please just say, hey, thumbs up, cool, I enjoyed it, it was helpful. What's your takeaway? Have you been doing this? Is this like, maybe you're watching like, yeah, I do this all the time anyway. Or is this new to you? What's been helpful? I would love some feedback. I think a lot of people watch my videos and I don't know that you're watching, and you know, of course you're free to stay kind of hidden in the background, but if you do want to give me some positive love, then I need it too, right? Like it's actually quite outside of my comfort zone to make these videos, but I do enjoy stepping out of my comfort zone. So all right. Also, one last note, I am manifesting at least six more beautiful souls to work with starting in September for a 3-month journey, one of weekly sessions of soul-based coaching. Think of it like dedicating an entire season of your life, you know, like an actual, like the season of autumn, which happens to be my favorite, to yourself. Again, like this is especially good if what you want is more than just like working on a specific topic. If what you want is to invest in yourself, in the health and vibrancy and resourcefulness of your inner world, of your like to deepen and improve your relationship with yourself, with your intuition. You want more self-love, like that very tangible, practical kind, and not just the, you know, I buy myself fancy things kind of self-love, but like the in the heart, often uncomfortable process of connecting with those parts kind of self-love. Like there's these sessions go deep quickly. It's not always comfortable, but that's why you have someone like me do the process with you, because I'm there to hold a very strong container. Essentially, in these hour-long sessions, I am activating a very potent energy that I believe, you know, that I can sense, like comes from generations of healing workers, and it's something bigger than me that I tap into, and a space that I'm holding when I hold space for my clients. And it's about connecting you with that power to transform that you have within, to heal, to feel really, really good and aligned in yourself and in your life. So if you struggle with self-trust, boundaries, feeling like you're making more decisions based on shoulds and other people's expectations than on your true needs and desires, if you want to know what your true self wants, if you want to live more intuitively and be a really good manifester and have life feel more like a fun adventure than like a rat race, then so this is what soul-based coaching is for, and that's what the 3-month journey with me is for. Okay, if you want that, then get in touch with me and we can have a free call. Ask me your questions. All right, I am going to let you go now and go back to Yanni's apartment, maybe get some dinner. Much love. Bye-bye.